So it is Tuesday night, November 5th. It's a day that many in the country have been waiting for a long time. We've been awaiting the decisions, and now we're awaiting the results of those decisions. Of course, I'm talking about the NFL trade deadline. I
which
don't know what else is going on today, but that was to me that was the trade deadline was the biggest news of the day.
which
Um, what was that?
no, which any commissioner in sports would have seen that and said, we should probably move it. Not Roger Goodell. No, he's going to say this is the NFL. We're more important than America, and he believes that.
They
And
totally, that's
so
totally a flex. That's
trade.
totally what he says. That yeah, there's an election going on. Don't you think we should move this trade deadline? Like, no, 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 no. We're bigger than the country. We're bigger. We're bigger. We're bigger than democracy, baby. We're the
Bingo.
NFL. We could we can make people watch the Giants against the Jaguars and fill up a stadium in London or something like that.
Like,
What was that? What was that line from The Godfather? We're bigger than U.S. Steel, Michael.
yeah, we're bigger than U.S. Steel. Like next year, they'll probably have, or the 4 years from now, they'll have the election bowl, and they'll get
Right.
they'll have like Kamala and Trump, flip the coin,
They'll have a
and
special, yeah. They'll
yeah,
have a special like teams. They'll be there, yeah. Team Democrat, Team Republican, and then the winner will win. Indiana or something like that. They'll play for electoral votes.
Yes, yeah, play for electrical votes. Yeah,
Oh
right,
my
and like
goodness.
Jaguars and the Saints, and it'll be
Yeah.
like 13.
Oh, sorry, you
Um,
threw an interception. You guys are Democrat now. Sorry, guys.
right.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I thought let's talk about what the Steelers added today because they added two pieces that they needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, um,
We'll talk about the Mike Williams first. They've been talking about adding a wide receiver for almost a year now, and we finally got one. But the weird thing is, everybody they were talking about adding, Ayuk or this guy or that guy, they all got hurt. It's like, is this some kind of Omar
yeah,
Khan
Christian
curse or
Kirk.
something like that?
It sounds from what I mean, they were actually within like maybe 2 hours of pulling the trigger on Christian Kirk until he broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
And I think Adam Thielen, who a lot of people think, well, he's just outdated and old. They forget he had 100 catches last year.
Yeah.
But I think him sitting there on the IR and the Panthers were saying we're not sure if he's going to play Sunday. I think that scared them enough. If had he been healthy, I think it may have been Adam Thielen over Mike Williams because I think they're looking for a guy now that not only can be a second receiver, but also a guy that they can rely on and get the ball to a lot. So like Mike Williams, I think probably his fantasy value probably just shot through the roof. I'm not saying he's going to score 11 touchdowns, but he's the kind of guy. Is he going to be a stat monster? Probably not. But I could see him scoring 5 or 6 touchdowns the rest of the year, Joe. The other thing I could see with him is he brings some leadership to that locker room, some maturity to that locker room. So I think it has a couple resounding effects for the Steelers long term, at least for the rest of the season. Put it that way.
I at first I was not happy. It's like this is it. This is what we got. But I mean, really, and anybody that has has done fantasy football, if you get Mike Williams, that in most years, like he was a monster. Like he would put up huge numbers. Um, I I think, and the thing is, there was a very good chance he was going to come to Pittsburgh in the off season, but he decided to make a stop in New York first, and they basically said, "Well, you're not leaving. We're going to pay you whatever you want. We want you really bad." And so the
Right.
Steelers ended up because his next stop was coming to Pittsburgh. So it's
Mhm.
funny that they were pursuing him and they just got him 2 months later. But I,
Yeah,
I
and it's yeah, he's been a guy too. It's been a tale of two halves, and I forget I think it may have been I was caught this just the last hour of the Pat McAfee show, and they were talking about if he were to come to Pittsburgh, and his stats are insane. Like either he's a monster in the first or monster in the second. He's just, I guess, maybe too injury prone, a little too long in the tooth, however you want to put it, to have a great full season. And he started to pick up, and he had a kind of a lackadaisical first half. So history should show he should have a decent second half of the season. You know, and I think too, sometimes you get these guys, and DeAndre Hopkins is a perfect example. He was a beast last night. I mean, you're watching him, he looked like he did when he was, a rookie. He was catching everything Mahomes threw to him. Twice in double coverage, he went up to get the ball. It's almost like I'll admit when I'm wrong. I didn't think that Derrick Henry was going to go to Baltimore and take off like he has. And he's a triple crown in running backs right now. He's leading every single
Yeah.
category. I kind of thought, well, because they dispersed the ball so much there, he'll be a factor, but not. But he's incredible. So who knows? I'm not saying Mike Williams is going to go off like Derrick Henry, but he might be a spark here, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was such a disaster in New York because he just didn't get along with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, who does?
What,
The
no,
wheels on
no,
the
I'm
bus
not gonna get
back
political,
over
so
you.
I'm not gonna go there.
Like,
Whack jobs. That's who gets along with Aaron Rodgers. But it seems like the Aaron Rodgers, at least in 2024, is you have to be on the same wavelength as him. So Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, if Devontae Adams can stay healthy, they'll be plenty. They'll be a good connection because they were a good connection a long time ago. But
right.
but he just either didn't get along with Mike Williams or just they weren't used to playing with each other, but it was just a complete it was like oil and water. And yeah,
And for a
I'm
fifth round pick, I mean, I'm not that. I would have. I actually probably wouldn't have liked it for even a fourth or third, but a fifth, I'm willing to part with for Mike Williams. And who knows, maybe they can even bring him back for another year, or two or something. But
yeah, maybe.
I think they want to get younger. Um, but I could see them entertaining bringing Mike Williams back, right? Maybe they do go get a rookie wide receiver next year, and he goes at a slot or
Yeah.
something. But he's a big guy, right? He's 6'4". He likes to stretch the field still. That's what he likes to do. So yeah, and they in a way they actually needed it too. I mean, how much of an effect is he going to have? I don't know. Because you talk about chemistry and developing that. But I mean, the Redskins. Here we go again. The Commanders. That's my that's you and me being in our 40s, being football fans in the
Yeah.
NFL. Um, the Commanders have a very good pass defense. It's fourth in efficiency and fifth overall, and they're going to make the Steelers earn it. It's going to be a tough game for them on the road this weekend. And uh, comparatively thinking, Joe, I was thinking about this all day driving around. They are starting to remind me what the Steelers kind of look like in '05, right? They've got a very, very young defense, but some big playmakers that are making names. They've drafted this really well. Jaden Daniels is looking like the real deal. I don't think they're going to go much past maybe a playoff win, but they may be building something there in Washington, and
I,
we're
I
catching them at a bad time.
it's absolutely amazing basically what one person does to an
Mhm.
entire franchise.
Right.
When you hit on that quarterback and he's good right out of the gates, who and you see they made a trade today for what Lattimore or something like that. It's like they're
Lattimore.
they're they're basically saying I saw someone say the Jaden Daniels window has been opened. Basically, from now until his rookie contract is done, they better load up. And it's like, this is our chance to go for a Super Bowl. So I would expect Washington to be,
Right.
in future years, to be spending like crazy to try to
Yeah.
take advantage of this rookie contract. But yeah, I think the Steelers have a really tough uh, job ahead of them this weekend. And all they have is basically, the Steelers defense is so experienced and they're really good against rookie quarterbacks. But
Yeah. This
I don't know
one
if you
here,
can
I
stop
don't
this
know.
dude.
Yeah, he's just tough. He looks great. One of the things Mike Tomlin talked about in his press conference was they watched that Giants game a lot the last couple of days, and he realized they not that he didn't realize it before, but the Giants, like you made the last podcast, the Giants ran all over us. They need to figure out a better way to stop that. So the second guy they could get today is Preston Smith, right from the Packers, who could probably make an impact there. You know, so I thought that was a good move too for a 7th round pick. Great move.
I was confused at first. I'm like, why do we need another pass rusher? And it's like, oh, actually, we do. I mean, Herbig is hurt. Hopefully, he gets better soon. But even with him, we saw in the Giants game, TJ Watt was just he was blown up. He was just, he was out of gas because he was out there too much. You need a good rotation, and you need, not a horrible drop off when TJ or Alex Highsmith comes out of the game.
Well, and I think it was an upgrade. So again, are these moves like, over the moon? No, but this guy, he's versatile. Now, there's going to be an adjustment period, right? He played in a 4-3. He's coming over to 3-4, and I think that's always a difficult transition. I know Craig Wolfley talks about that a lot when guys come to that kind of to the Steelers that have played in a 4-3. But if you look at this film, and I just watched some film with him and the Packers, they played him everywhere. So he's kind of a hands in the dirt kind of guy. He can actually line up as an interior defenseman. He's 6'5", 256.
Yeah,
So
big
he's built
guy.
more like a linebacker. He's listed as a linebacker. And so I think a couple things there is one, I think, like you said, he allows them, he can spell a couple different guys. They can put him in different situations, especially if they're trying to stack the box. But the other thing is I think it maybe adds to the fact that maybe Herbig's not as far along in his recovery as we or they had hoped in Pittsburgh, and they need to get someone in there because he's just like you said. Watt was gassed. He played a great game, but he was gassed.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and Highsmith too. So yeah, this guy brings in some good depth
good depth.
and
Yeah.
for a 7th round pick, I mean, yeah, that's fine. So I didn't think they gave up a lot today, and I think they gained a little. I don't think they gained, two Pro Bowlers by any means, but they gained some.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm excited what Mike Williams is going to do for George Pickens. Um,
Hmm.
I'm also excited to see how Mike Williams is going to do with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson throws a pretty nice deep ball, and it seems like Mike Williams is more like a contested catch kind of guy, kind of like George Pickens. So hey, just throw it up and let's see what happens. Big
Right.
guy, 6'4", 218. I think he could win some battles.
No, I think it's an excellent point. And Wilson throws a beautiful, like if you want to call it a moon ball, an arc ball, whatever you want to call it, and that's like you're right. He's built for bringing those kind of balls down, much in a way DeAndre Hopkins is with Mahomes. And even watching last night, I don't know. Did you watch last night?
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield's reaction when they lost the coin toss was priceless. I mean, and it's that kind of thing. Like the Chiefs,
He knew it. That's I was like, yeah, we
right?
lost.
But like on a first and second down, they're like stretching the field, which we haven't been able to do either. And it added dimension. So if you notice, and it's kind of, I don't want to say we're the Chiefs, but it's kind of been a mirror situation over the last 2 weeks with Russell Wilson at the helm. We've seen Najee Harris have some big fourth quarters the last couple weeks. Well, last week or last night, they were talking about Mahomes, but really Tampa couldn't stop Kareem Hunt. He was
Yeah.
running all over them in that fourth quarter, and he scores a game-winning touchdown. Right. So that when you look at Mike Williams, he could add that to our lineup, Joe. Where on first down, we may actually throw a deep ball or two.
Yeah.
And actually have a chance at a receiver making a play to get it. No offense to everybody other named George Pickens, but
I wonder what's going to happen now with Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin. Is
Jefferson probably goes to 4. I think that I think Austin's speed's so great out of the slot, so I think that's what you're going to see. But Jefferson's proved himself to be, believe it or not, a half bad deep receiver the last 2 weeks. So
right,
who knows?
right, yeah.
Maybe they'll mix it up a little bit.
Maybe that's the thing all along. Maybe Van Jefferson was just a lousy wide receiver 2, but a pretty darn good wide receiver 3. Maybe that third option out there, and maybe they'll throw more 4 wide receiver sets now that they have 4 legit wide receivers.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. It's so exciting. But
Yeah.
yeah, about Najee, I just love that he's just out there running, you know, he's out there running against not stacked boxes, and then their goal, they said, was we want to wear teams down in the third and fourth quarter. Well, that's what you do, and Najee's the
Mhm.
perfect person for that, and that just brings me back to like the Jerome Bettis days. I mean, that was when the Steelers had a lead in the fourth quarter, no matter what, even if it was a point. It's like, well, too bad, because we're just going to take up half the quarter and we're going to run this down your throat, and too bad
Yeah.
because you're too tired to stop us.
We're gonna give it to that guy that you don't want to hit in the fourth
Yeah,
quarter.
yeah. They,
You
they
know.
make business decisions.
Yep. And I'll always say my favorite Steeler game I went to is probably where they lost, which was actually 33 years ago on Monday Night Football, the Giants, because it was just a circumstance, right? And I know how close you were to your dad, God bless his heart, but my dad came home and surprised me with Monday Night Football. He actually picked me up at school, right? So he
Wow.
pulls in. I'm like, oh, I'm usually not like a parent pickup, right? I'm a bus home almost all the time. And I get in the car and he says, "We're going to Three Rivers tonight for Monday Night Football." And I mean, it was like, it was, to this day, I always get emotional about it. But the Bears game, when my cousin took me it was actually my birthday, he got them for me. He just happened to pick the Bears game. His father-in-law used to be the chief of Pittsburgh Streets, or the head of Pittsburgh Streets, Rob Kazarowski, and he would always be on the news, because they'd be asking like, "Where are the snow plows?" And there would be Rob like, "Well, they're stuck in Polish Hill right now, and they'll get down to the south side when we get them unstuck from being stuck there." No, but he we're sitting right on the sideline. It's like 50-yard line, and watching Bettis take out half of the Bears lineup on his
Was that the
way
when he ran over Brian
when
Urlacher?
he ran over
Oh,
Urlacher. And
with
I
the
mean,
snowflakes coming
the
down.
snowflakes you could not see the city. You could not see the opposite side of Heinz Field, as how
Wow.
that was coming down. And but like, to your point, that's when, I mean, they just went to Bettis mode and they put the Bears away in that game. And then, as you know, they go and win the Super Bowl that year. Right. So but yeah, I think you're seeing something similar. And I thought it was funny last night, or no, this morning, they were talking about teams that could beat the Chiefs, which we weren't in the mix just 3 weeks ago. Now they're saying Ravens, possibly Steelers, or maybe the only two, and the Bills, maybe the only teams capable of knocking off the Chiefs. And I think that's why adding Mike Williams, Joe, has me excited too. I'm not going to jump up and go nuts, but uh, my main reason for picking them going 8-9 this season was I had no belief in this receiving core. Now I have some belief.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And the question is, well, how how soon is he going to get up to speed? Is he even going to play this weekend? It's like, you know what? Just simplify it for him. Or, whatever the play is, you just tell him, like, hey, Mike, you do this. You just simplify it. That's all. Just
yeah.
use your talent. And another thing is, how happy does he have to be to get the hell away from New York and get the hell away from Aaron Rodgers? This is like he has a new lease on life.
So everybody wants to get away from Aaron Rodgers, but why do I?
Uh-huh.
Like, before I get thrown under the bus again, because he threw Mike Williams under the bus this past Sunday.
Totally.
And like, I
He
mean,
blamed the entire game on him. Like, my God.
right, right. I do believe that. I know it's a strong, harsh kind of word, but the guy's like a disease. I just, remember there was talk remember back in the day, Joe, like, what was that, 2 or 3 years ago? They were making all those things where like he was smiling at Tomlin and Tomlin smiling back, and they're
It
all
was,
the,
oh,
and
Aaron
I
Rodgers
was
is coming to the
yeah,
Steelers.
I
Oh
was
my
definitely in
God.
the opposite camp. You don't want that guy, and I'm glad they didn't do
It
that.
would have been a disaster. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because he's his own. He's like his own planet. And you saw what he's doing for some reason, they've decided, let's hand over the entire franchise to this guy. You're,
Yeah.
why? He's 40. Like all he does now, and this reminds me of when Ben Roethlisberger was his final years. As soon as he gets the ball, he throws it out because he doesn't want to get hit.
Right.
That's that, Look,
Right.
and at first it's like when the Jets play the Steelers. At first it was like, oh, he's picking them apart, and then the Steelers figured out, it's like, oh, this dude is just getting it out as quickly as possible. We could do something about that. And they stopped him. But yeah, he's past his prime. And they just handed over the entire franchise to him. And they didn't even I love every time the Jets lose because it's like you've made this huge gamble and you're losing big time, idiots.
Right. Yeah. No, and so yeah, I think we're sitting a little bit prettier than we were even, coming off the bye week. So uh I do feel like that schedule lightens up. And the other thing too about that schedule we've been talking about, because the nightmare starts this Sunday. Uh if the Chiefs get to Christmas Day, and I believe at that point they'd be, let's just say they run the table. They'd be like 11-0. They won't have a damn thing to play for in that game.
Exactly. I was thinking
And
this too.
right, and I'm thinking that might all of a sudden be a game where they may like, if we lose to the Steelers, you know, other than the fact that they're trying to be undefeated. I'm not saying they're gonna. It's the Chiefs, and Andy Reid is the best coach in football, and there's nobody even close second. I don't foresee them doing it, but all of a sudden, if it's a meaningless game, you got to wonder. If
You
Mahomes is a
know,
little banged up, if Kelsey or because they're saying Pacheco should come back probably a week after next, they're not gonna risk banging
it's
some of those guys
it's
up.
week 17. So
Hmm.
almost the end of the regular season. And like like you said, if they're undefeated, they'll maybe try to go for that. But they're going to lose at some point because they're barely winning all these games. It's not like they're this huge juggernaut.
Right.
But every other team has at least 2 losses. So they are
Yeah.
2 games ahead on every other team. So they can wrap this thing up by like week 15 or 16 or something like that. And by week 17, it's like, yeah, it's time to rest our starters and
Right.
give the Steelers a
Yep.
chance.
It's Christmas Day. It's like and what time is that, Joe? Is that like the 1 o'clock game? I don't even.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's
Uh,
completely ruin Christmas.
let's completely ruin Christmas because I can tell you our timeline. We're generally so we open gifts up here. Santa Claus comes, does his thing. My kid's drunk off a Christmas cheer. I'm drunk off a Christmas cheer. The dog is drunk off a Christmas cheer, and we get down to my parents about that time. So you know how it is. You take him to Grammy and Papa's, and there's all kinds of more Christmas cheer
Uh-huh.
awaiting him,
Uh-huh.
also from his aunts and uncles. I guarantee the last
Mhm.
thing we're worried about is a Steeler game, 1 o'clock.
Right.
Nobody
Right.
cares. It's
Right.
Christmas
But you
Day.
might have it in the background or something like that. Yeah.
Maybe in the background, but yeah. So yeah, it's it's
Two,
gonna be
two things Roger Goodell thinks he's bigger than. Uh
Christmas.
Democracy and Santa Claus.
Yeah, right,
Like
right.
the ego on this dude. Like,
Yeah, he'll probably make Aaron Rodgers like his second in command once he does retire.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but no, so yeah, that's something else about that schedule. I really do feel now because the Browns started a little bit of a fire sale today. I mean, they sent one of their better defensive linemen to the Lions for God's sakes. So I mean, the Lions are probably arguably the second best team in football right now, and with a coach that's just willing to do anything to win. So I think the Browns now. I gotta see us. I think we beat the Browns. I think we sweep them.
I think we sweep them too. And I thought that we were going to split with them, but
Hmm.
after what I saw this past week, because I thought they were a pretty good team that just had the worst quarterback in the history of the world that was bringing them down. And that was the case. But then you have Jameis Winston in there, and he's another kind of suck. He's occasionally good, but he's good for 2 or 3 interceptions every single game. The dude
Yeah.
has not learned. He has not learned one thing in his career. He does the same thing every year, every game. He's occasionally good and horribly bad in the same game. And yeah, and now they just had a fire sale. So yeah, now I do think the Steelers are going to sweep the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, they got rid of Amari Cooper. That's the one that I guess that was wishful thinking. I don't think they were going to trade him to a division rival, but I would
Right.
love to have had Amari
Right.
Cooper. Amari Cooper, I'd be a lot more excited just because he's
Right.
so much potential, right? But yeah, so and then I still feel like we could split with the Ravens in this upcoming couple weeks. It might be like one of those stupid things. We'll beat them there; they'll beat us here. And the Bengals, I'd lean towards we have a chance of sweeping them, because their defense is just so bad. But Burrow is such a great quarterback.
It
It'll be
it
tough.
all it all depends because right now they are a team that is completely desperate. They are also a team that has a horrible defense and an amazing offense. And Joe Burrow knows that the entire team has to depend on him being perfect. And he's basically he has to put the entire team on his back. But the problem is you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. When the three of them are playing, they are almost unstoppable. But the problem is the three of them almost never play together because T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are in contract negotiations. And if one of them has like like a hangnail or a headache or something like that, they're like, I'm not feeling it today. I'm not showing up to work. So that would be the only thing that hurts them is if they decide not to like if not everybody is healthy.
I think it's interesting with those two because, if you're a Bengals fan, boy, things could change because they could both walk. And they both seem a little hacked off at the Bengals organization. I would have thought maybe in the beginning of the year, I thought, well, one's going to stay. And it looked like T. Higgins is pretty much gone. But now Jamar Chase has been increasingly unhappy. And, that's the NFL these days, man. And the Bengals have not done much to address the defense. And they were at the Super Bowl, what, just 2 years ago now,
Yeah.
and they played a very good Super Bowl, and it's been down ever since. And it's going to be hard to convince those two to stay.
The Bengals are an absolute joke because they are
Hmm.
run. Their owner is an absolute joke.
Right?
He is a cheapskate and an idiot. He's basically the Bob Nutting of football. And they struck lightning in a bottle. They got their franchise quarterback. They got an amazing wide receiver. They got another amazing wide receiver, and they're gonna throw it away because they're such idiots. And they nickel and dime people, and their negotiations are horrible. And I guarantee either one or two of them are going to walk. And and they're not going to find anybody to replace them. Look what happened. They used to have a really good defense, and now it sucks. And they're going to lose that Hendrickson too because the same crap because they're
Right?
idiots.
I
I always knew
Yeah,
this was going to happen with the Bengals because it's like, yeah, you struck lightning in a bottle, but you're going to piss it away because it's just such a poorly run organization.
I could make the call right now. I would say, and I know it's way too early call. I could see T. Higgins in a Commander's uniform next year. I just feel like it'd be a right fit for him. I think it'd be good for him. Like you said, I think for these next 3 to 4 years, they're going to say we're going to go all in on Jaden
Oh
Daniels.
yeah,
I think T. Higgins would go there in a heartbeat. So, but and the funny thing is, with as Steeler fans, we see these teams go through what they go through, and those Bengals teams back in the time the Steelers were coming up were pretty good, right? And they had a good quarterback. They had hell of a trio of receivers. Chad Johnson, you had T.J. Hushmanzada. It was a pretty good Bengals offense. The running back, so it was Corey Dillon, and then there was who was after Corey Dillon? Joe, I forget the guy's name.
I
Uh,
forget, but they were
yeah,
yeah
but
they
the
always had good running
defense
backs.
defense wasn't bad, and I still think like when we beat them when we did in Cincy, I remember watching that game with my dad, and I'm like, we may have a shot here, of getting to the Super Bowl now because that was I don't think a lot of people had us
Was
beat
that
the
the key
Bengals.
move on Old Halfon game?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
he took out Carson Palmer.
which they hate us for, and I
Yes.
always all my Cincinnati friends always say like, you guys hate us so much, and we're kind of like meh with you.
Yeah, we
We're
barely know
much
you exist.
we much rather just send our hate towards Baltimore or Cleveland, and
Right.
you're kind of like, oh yeah, there's a kid,
Right. We barely think of you.
nice boy, you're a nice kid, he's a good boy. Now I know why tigers eat their young, right? But yeah, so and it's if you're a Bengals fan, you're going right back into it. Are they going to keep this together? And it's just, yeah, I sometimes feel bad for Bengals fans. Not really, but sometimes a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So I did a poll and said how many games will the
Ooh,
Steelers end up winning
I missed
this
that.
regular season, and 10 to 11 games is what won by the biggest margin. Uh that means they go 4-4 or 4-5 the rest of the way. Um I think they could do better than that. I
They
think
might.
this might be an 11 or 12 win team. And if they could do that, and if they could pull it off and win the division and host a home game in the playoffs, I like
I
the odds of winning a playoff game.
I do, and that's where things get so weird with Tomlin. It's like 7 years he hasn't won a playoff game. I get it, but these are the types of things he does. I mean, he he just somehow finds a way. Like you said, they're probably and should be about a 10-7 team at this point. But you're probably right. They'll probably finish with 11 or 12 wins. And I'm going to look like a complete jerk because I said 8 wins and, put that out there. But hey, that's what you do in this business is sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. And I can see it, Joe. And who knows? Like you said, you give us a home playoff game. And that's the thing, Joe. They just got to get over that hurdle. And that I wonder too if they win that home playoff game, who knows what could happen?
Well,
Who knows?
exactly. Who knows? I mean, just getting into the playoffs is big, but yeah, getting past that first game, and then you never know what's going to happen after that. And what if they end up like with as the 2 seed or something like that? And they're
Yeah,
hosting another playoff game. It's like, oh my God.
right. So yeah, it's just, I mean, still a lot of things have to fall in place. I do feel like if you had to put me right now, who are the top 3 teams in football? I think it's Chiefs are one because they just haven't been beat yet. You're right; they haven't blown anybody out, but they're the Chiefs, and Andy Reid's the best coach in football. I
Yeah.
think the Ravens and the Lions are 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And I think there's a whole schmuck of quagmire of
I'd put the
you know
Bills up there too. I'd put
Bills are
the
probably 4, 5 somewhere in there.
but other than that, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
your top 4 teams.
yep. The
Um,
Eagles are starting to kind of catch their stride all of a sudden. Uh, I can tell you this. I've been to a lot of football in my life. I've covered a lot of football in my life. High school, Big Ten, rival. My history.
mhm.
Saquon Barkley's incredible. That move he did Sunday with the Eagles. I even said to my buddy, who's my counterpart in Philadelphia, I meant to buy a Saquon Barkley Eagles jersey just on that move alone. He's inhuman. And watching him in college, it was like it's just every once in a while when you have something special. It's just like when Big Ben took the field and we watched Big Ben develop, and you knew something was special here. And man, Saquon Barkley is just
How do you even
insane.
think of doing a move like that?
I have no idea how he even did it. Like, yeah,
Did
you're
you
right.
see?
How do you think about that?
Right. How did you even?
I know I am I
You
have a
can't do
safety
that move on
alarm.
Madden.
No, you can't do that. Now you probably will next year.
Yeah, I probably will
But
next
I
year.
mean, like it's. I even had like Liam's a great kid, and he likes to watch sports. He's still 10, right? So he'll sit and watch a football game with me for a little bit. But then he likes to, he's got his action figures and games. And
Yeah, yeah.
but I had him and my wife watch Saquon's move, and I'm like, he's like, is that reverse? I'm like, no, that's that.
Did you rewind it?
No, that is him doing. And I just remember him at Penn State doing stuff, and uh, just seeing him do the kind of things he did. And you and I are a little young to remember Tony Dorsett, but Tony Dorsett did stuff like that when he was a Pitt. And it's just like you get these guys that come along once in a lifetime, and yeah,
You did something amazing when your own teammates they showed the
the
play
Eagles sideline.
from the Eagle sideline, and Eagles player was like, "Oh my God!" They're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
what the hell
I
just
don't think
happened?"
any of us had them beating the Eagles in our preseason.
No,
No,
no. That's a
Eagles
guaranteed
are
loss.
Eagles are hot right now, and that's in Philadelphia. So yeah,
I just hope, Kenny Pickett does not enter that game at any point.
can you imagine Twitter?
Oh my
I mean, it'll break Twitter if Kenny Pickett comes in there and would win. It'd be
God.
one thing if he came in, they beat them. But if he comes in and wins or something,
The worst thing is if like the Eagles are winning like 35-3 or something like that, and they bring in Kenny Pickett for mop-up duty, and that dude is going to throw bombs every single play. Like, I don't care if the play is kneel down.
right,
It's like, no, I'm going to really stick it to these guys.
right. Right, it's like a 1st and 5 at the he's gonna drop back and, like, just, let it go. A.J. Brown come down with it, and
Right.
yeah, uh, so
Yeah.
I think that's what's fun about this is, okay, you brought in 2 guys, 1, it's a skill player. Let's see what kind of impact he has. Um, if they stay competitive Sunday, I'll be happy. Because I think the Commanders are just a hot team right now. They're catching them at a hot time. They're at their field. Although uh, Steeler fans always make a pretty good presence in DC. So I think you'll have a number of Steeler fans at that game.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing to consider is the Steelers' record after a bye is really good. I
It
think their
is
last 16, they're like 12-4 or something like that. So
right.
there's that too. You just hope what has Washington won? Like how many in a row so far? They've
Uh,
won they've won 3 in a row. So, when you're on a winning streak, at some point you're due for a loss. So I also look at it that way. Yeah, but it's just amazing. I'm so happy for Washington because they got rid of the objectively worst owner in sports. Bob Nutting is a cheap piece of crap, but what Dan Snyder did was criminal, literally criminal. Some of the
well,
things he did.
on almost everything, and now there's that guy who's leading that thing to bring the Redskin name back. Like he was saying that they were never consulted, that they just did this, that and I mean he's like the guy that he's the profile, he's the Washington Redskin. He's like 92 years old or whatever he is, and there's a growing thing to bring that back. And I mean that would be a Dan Snyder thing for you. I mean he would spend money like a drunken sailor. Let's bring this guy in for $93 million, and
Right,
he'd be
right.
awful.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think of the defensive men that he brought in. That
Every year,
the
Albert
big
Hainsworth.
Albert Hainsworth, who was just a monster. Like God reached down and said, "You are a Marvel superhero."
Yeah.
But the kid, had so many injuries and only did what he did for maybe 3 years, and then yeah,
Yeah,
he
but it's
just
it was the whole organization because it's like when you went there, first of all, he paid you like way more money than anyone else. And it basically was like a country club. It's like, okay, you come here to just collect your money and die. And yeah, they would win the off season every year. They would spend more than any other team every off season, and every year it's like look at Washington did look at all these players they got, and every year it was a disaster. They did the same thing every single year. But
oh
what
yeah,
they really need to fix with Washington is those damn uniforms.
oh
I don't know what the hell's going on with those color schemes. At one point, they're cosplaying Steelers. They got this black and gold thing. I don't like the
yes,
shade of red. I don't like anything. The old Redskins uniforms were amazing.
oh they were a great one.
Whatever the Commanders are doing now, just
They
burn
were
them.
so good that their away uniforms were almost more classic than their home with that white,
Yeah.
the red lettering, the yellow around the numbers. They were the yellow face mask. But yeah, and I wonder, Joe, and I think you can look it up starting tomorrow because I think the NFL has to put that out there. I wonder if they're going to wear those black and gold home uniforms against the Steelers. I wonder.
Can't. You
I
just
know.
can't.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Those are our colors.
Those
Take
are
that off.
Yeah, well, that's like I have a really good friend. I was just talking to him about this, and he lives in Boston, and he brings that up a lot about the Penguins,
You stole our
and
colors.
you throw the Hornets at him, and technically, by NHL law, we were allowed to have the black and gold colors because the Bruins like threw a fit about that back in the
Uh-huh.
day,
Uh-huh.
because we were blue and white mostly,
Yep.
and everything, and yeah, so yeah, who knows? We shall see.
We shall see. Yeah, it's exciting. We're back and only one more primetime game, and that's a Thursday night game. Every other game is 1 o'clock or 4:30. Thank
We
goodness
can sleep.
we could sleep again. Yeah.
Yes, we can sleep again, yes, but then that'll happen. They'll go, like you said, 12 or 11 wins, and we'll have more primetime games next year, and we'll pay for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
yep.
crazy. All right, sir. Well,
Thank you, Joe.
thank you. And hey, The country is still intact. That's nice.
Yes, we'll,
We
we'll
need
see.
we'll see what happens tomorrow, but so far we have
Right, we'll see how everything is tomorrow morning. If everything's still intact, we'll move
that's
forward.
right.
All right, Joe.
See ya.